Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you, Elon. It's been almost 6 years where I sat with you here in this platform with a great audience. It was your first trip to Dubai with your family. I hope you enjoyed it.
How's it going? It's Noel over here. I just want to do a full review of Elon's latest interview. Now in February, what are we? February 16, 2023. Let's take a look and have a couple of thoughts about what he's talking about.
Twitter is certainly quite the roller coaster.
Elon, just it's been 6 years. Within 6 years, we've seen tremendous things since our last conversation. We've seen the pandemic, Russian-Ukrainian war, development of Chat GPT. You launched Starship. You recently also acquired Twitter. Can I ask you this question? Why you bought Twitter? Why didn't you create your own platform? Maybe it was cheaper for you?
I thought about creating something from scratch, but I thought Twitter would perhaps accelerate progress versus creating something from scratch by 3 to 5 years. I think we are seeing just a tremendous technology acceleration that 3 to 5 years is actually worth a lot.
It's crazy that he wants to be in everything. Everything that has to do with technology.
And especially Twitter, and I thought it was very important for there to be a maximally trusted sort of digital public square where people, within countries and internationally, could communicate with the least amount of censorship allowed by law. Obviously, that varies a lot by jurisdiction, but I think in general, social media companies should adhere to the laws of countries and not try to put a thumb on the scale beyond the laws of countries. So, and I think this is something that is probably agreeable to the...
I think that's Elon Musk getting into politics, which was wrong of him to do, but the man is brave, getting into politics.
Of the people, as opposed to imposing the values of essentially San Francisco and Berkeley, which are somewhat of a niche ideology as compared to the rest of the world. But Twitter was, I think, doing a little too much to impose a niche San Francisco Berkeley ideology in the world. I thought it was important for the future of civilization to try to correct that thumb on the scale, if you will, and just have Twitter more accurately reflect, like I said, the values of the people of Earth. That's the intention, and hopefully we succeed in doing that.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's crazy that Elon Musk talks about Earth and the people of Earth and what needs to be done in order to help Earth people, to help us out. And that's a strong argument to get people on his side.
But how do you see Twitter? If we say 5 years down the road, what's your vision for this platform? What should it do?
Well, I think I'd like to, have this sort of long-term vision for something called X.com from way back in the day, which is kind of like a sort of like an everything app, where it's just maximally useful. It does, payments.
They already have that in China, by the way, the everything app. Anything
digital, and it also provides secure communications. So that really, I think be as useful as possible, as entertaining as possible, and also to be like a source of truth. Like if you want to find out what's going on and what's really going on, then you should be able to go on X, the X app, and find out. So it's a sort of a source of truth and a maximally useful, I guess, app is probably the wrong word, but system. And Twitter is essentially an accelerant to that sort of maximally useful everything app thing.
How you are gonna? If you look at Twitter today, it's a platform. Sometimes there is a lot of misinformation in Twitter. Sometimes I don't feel comfortable even because there is this negative between nation, between people, between a different ethnic group. There is this hate thing. How you going to fix this issue where you are on a mission for humanity to get them together?
Yeah, I think there's something that we're putting a lot of effort into called community notes. It's currently just in English, but we will be expanding it to all languages. That is, I think, quite a good way to assess the truth of things, where it's the community itself, basically the people of Earth who are basically,
He said the people of Earth. The man sounds like an alien.
So it's sort of a competition for truth, and I think it's a very powerful concept to have a competition for truth. And because you also say, like, what is truth? Because what may be true to some may not be viewed as true to others. If you want to have the closest approximation of that, So I think the community notes thing is very powerful. I think the trying to have as many organizations and people, institutions verified as being legitimately those people and organizations is.
And that's another thing. Twitter's all over the world. Like, it's located in other countries. So to have Elon Musk have to regulate all of that across the world, it's a lot to ask.
Let's say if a Twitter handle is actually belongs to, say, Disney Corporation or something like that, you can go on Twitter and it's sort of an identity layer of the internet, and you can confirm that that is in fact the case. And I think once you've got these sort of interlocking sort of identities, it's actually very hard to be deceptive in that case, because and it's also you have a reputation to protect at that point. So I think then people are far more likely to be measured in their response. And be more reasonable since they have reputational value at that point. So these are some of the ideas that I have. And, I'm not saying that for sure it will succeed or it's going to be perfect, but I am confident that it will, over time, head into a good direction. And I think that the evidence for that will be, do people find it useful? As we're measuring sort of the total user minutes, but not just user minutes, unregretted user minutes, is I think that the key figure of merit. Because well, for example, TikTok has a very high usage. I often hear people say, well, I spent 2 hours on TikTok, but I regret those 2 hours. I'm not trying to knock TikTok, but it's just, we don't want that to be the case with Twitter. We want to say, like, okay, you spent...
You got to stop playing video like YouTube, so you can be like a YouTube competitor.
And ultimately be a force for good for civilization. That's the aspiration.
Thank you. Elon, we have over 150 government within the World Government Summit, global leaders. They have 8 billion customers, their citizens. How government can use Twitter better to serve a citizen?
Yeah, well, I think generally I would recommend, really communicating a lot on Twitter. I think it's good for people to speak in their voice as opposed to how they think they should speak. Sometimes people think, well, I should speak in this way that is expected of me, but it ends up sounding, I think, at times somewhat stiff and not real. If you read a press release from a corporation, it just sounds like propaganda. I would encourage CEOs and companies and legislators and ministers and so forth to speak authentically and to if there's a particular policy to explain it. And I think there's sometimes a concern about criticism, but I think at the end of the day having some criticism is fine. It's really not that bad.
You got a big head, sir.
Attack on Twitter, frankly, and I don't mind. You have to be somewhat thick-skinned, I suppose, at times. Just because they're really will try to twist the knife. But I think just like I said, as a forum for communication, it's great, and I would just encourage more communication. And like I said, to sort of speak in an authentic voice. Like sometimes people will have someone else be their sort of Twitter manager or something like that. And I think
the reality is communication is used to win people over, to win wars, for the government to win wars, for everything that has to do with communication in terms of getting a message across, getting people to buy into your argument, whatever that may be.
The way to do it is to actually do the tweets yourself and convey the message that you want directly. Yeah. So, one thing I should say, and I know this is called the World Government Summit, but I think we should be maybe a little bit concerned about actually becoming too much of a single world government. If I may say that we want to avoid creating a civilizational risk by having, frankly, this may sound a little odd, too much cooperation between governments. If you look at, say, the history and the rise and fall of civilizations, that really all throughout history, civilizations have risen and fallen, but it hasn't meant the doom of humanity as a whole, because there've been all these separate civilizations that were separated by great distances. And so, say while Rome was falling, Islam was rising, and so you had the sort of caliphate doing incredibly well while Rome was doing terribly.
I love how he takes everything into consideration. One side was falling, the other side was rising. And
so, I think we want to be a little bit cautious about being too much of a single civilization, because if we are too much of a single civilization, then if the whole thing may collapse. I'm obviously not suggesting war or anything like that, but I think we want to be a little bit wary of actually cooperating too much. It sounds a little odd, but we want to have some amount of civilizational diversity, such that if something does go wrong with some part of civilization, that the whole thing doesn't collapse, and humanity keeps moving forward.
Thank you. I hear you. I agree and disagree with you at a certain point. And I think, it's today people, they don't fight with sword anymore. I mean, they have nuclear weapons. So if there's this conflict, the whole civilization will be gone. The whole human civilization will be gone. And what we are trying to do here at the Emirates actually is to do exactly what you're saying. We have 180 nationalities. You have every single race, every single religion, and we're trying to create a model that show the world that
the World Government Summit. So a bunch of governments.
We can live in peace and harmony.
Yeah.
My last question, I'll go to Twitter again, then we'll move out of Twitter if you allow us. I mean, you've been running Twitter as the chairman, as the owner, as the CEO, and that's take a lot of time. Did you identify a CEO and when you are going to hire him?
Well, I think I need to stabilize the organization and just make sure it's in a financially healthy place and that the product roadmap is clearly laid out. So I don't know. I'm guessing probably towards the end of this year.
End of 2023.
To find someone else to run the company because I think it should be in a stable position around at the end of this year.
If we move to another subject, I mean, at the summit here, we have speakers who speak about state of the world, state of geopolitical of the world for the next 10 decades, state of the economy of the world, now and the next 10 years. If I ask you about the state of technology, if you can elaborate a bit and brief us, how do you see technology in the next 10 years from now?
Well, 10 years, it's always difficult to predict technology with precision, especially over a 10-year time frame when it is changing so much. I mean, there's obviously the transition to sustainable energy with solar, wind, batteries, and electric vehicles. And that is, if you look at the percentage growth of that is a very high percentage growth. Although because of the massive industrial base of the current sort of fossil fuel economy, even if all, for example, if electric cars.
Let me just say this much. The transition to solar energy and to electric energy, I don't know if that's the case that he's selling because those are his products. He got electric cars, solar panels, and a battery that he's selling. You know what I mean? Or it sounds like he truly wants humanity to succeed. Then telling people that we need to transition to electric energy, he's winning that argument. So it's so easy for us to say that he makes sense and I'm following what he says. Because, yeah, we need to transition to electric, but that means getting rid of all our cars. Very interesting.
100% of production immediately. It would take 20 years to replace the fleet. So this is still something that is quite gradual. It's measured in at least a few, 30, 40 years type of time frame. On a more sort of near-term time frame, I think artificial intelligence is something we need to be quite concerned about and really be attentive to the safety of AI. You mentioned ChatGPT earlier. I played a significant role in the creation of OpenAI. Essentially, at the time, I was concerned that Google was not paying enough attention to AI safety. And so I, with a number of other people, created OpenAI. Although initially it was created as an open source nonprofit, and now it is closed source and for profit. I don't have any stake in OpenAI anymore, nor am I on the board, nor do I control it in any way. But the ChatGPT, I think, has illustrated to people just how advanced AI has become. Because the AI has been advanced for a while, it just didn't have a user interface that was accessible to most people. So what really ChatGPT has done is just put an accessible user interface on AI technology that has been present for a few years, and there are much more advanced versions of that are coming out. So I think we need to really be. I think we need to regulate AI safety, frankly. Because
let me say this much. Elon Musk has been ahead of all of this. He's been mentioning it, and everybody should take him as a joke, like, sure, yeah, whatever, okay. And now he's re-mentioning, he's bringing it up again. The fact that there's more advanced versions. What we're seeing is nothing. I love ChatGPT. I get to use it every day. It helps me with anything, any documents, anything that I need to write. ChatGPT is the best. It's the way to go, and it's nice to know that Elon Musk had a hand in the start of all of this. He said he's not a part of the board anymore, but interesting that he knew about this way before it came out.
Think of any...
I'm going to play it a little bit more and then close it out.
Technology, which is potentially a risk to people, like if it's an aircraft or cars or medicine, we have regulatory bodies that oversee the public safety of cars and planes and medicine. And I think we should have a similar sort of regulatory oversight for artificial intelligence, because it is, I think, actually a bigger risk to society than cars or planes or medicine. So, and this may slow down AI a little bit, but I think that might also be a good thing. The challenge here is that government regulatory authorities tend to be set up in reaction to something bad that happened. If you look at, say, aircraft or cars, the cars were unregulated at the beginning, aircraft were unregulated, but they had lots of airplane crashes. And
the government is reactive, and we can't really do much about it. We only put in the laws after something crazy happens. You know what I mean? Like if we get to a level where we cannot control AI, then you're going to see a law that says, okay, we need to do this. From now on, AI has to follow these rules. And it's just the way of the world because of our politics, the way things work. Elon right here is trying to talk about we need to put the rules now before the robots get here. But that's not going to happen. We first need to do the robot thing, because Elon Musk has two things that have to do with robots, which is the Tesla cars are going to drive themselves. So that's going to require AIG, or artificial general intelligence. So AIG or AGI, actually, I'm bugging out. And he's doing a robot to help out in the factory. So you're going to start by making that robot help out in the factory and then provide it to consumers. A robot with artificial intelligence you can have a conversation with. And forget dating. That's it. That's going to be our future dates. I can only imagine the rules are going to come up with, when you're dating a computer, you can't actually leave all the money to that person, to that robot, But it'll be nice to have a conversation with a robot. That would be so funny. So those are the two things that Elon Musk got going with artificial intelligence. And right now, artificial intelligence is being used by web browsers like the Microsoft, what's it called? The Microsoft web browser. Microsoft web browser. I forgot the name of it. I can't think. I know there's Google, so it's Google's main competitor. So that means Google got to come up with that artificial intelligence to compete, that's able to answer any question. Because a lot of times I'll put in questions on ChatGPT like I'm talking to a regular person, and I'm so surprised that it understands exactly what I'm saying. Like I'll abbreviate people, like PPL, and ask a question, whatever it is, and it follows through and knows what I'm trying to say. So it's pretty good. I'm going to try to make it so that, I'm learning about ChatGPT. I'm going to make it do crazy. Let me see how crazy we can make it do things. You know what I mean? Like create like a cyborg and create my videos. That would be funny. Okay, so this is a long video. Whenever Elon is talking, I think he's worth listening to. He got great insights, great ideas. We are in February, and he said by March he might try out his rocket to go around the Earth. And that's tough. Like, who does that? Rocket scientist. So in March, which is next month, we should expect to see a rocket go across the Earth. I can't wait for that. It's on my calendar. If it happens, I don't know which particular day in March, but anytime during March, that should be nice. So that's another thing that Elon is working on, because rockets, he said that you cannot fly a rocket. You got to program it, and it has to do everything according to the computer. So that's another artificial intelligence. So this particular talk is pretty good. He talks a lot of things that are happening, AI, the dangers of AI, education. What I'll do is I'll provide a link at the bottom of this video. You click on this, you can watch the whole thing. It's 28 minutes, but I'm going to stop it right here. This is the longest video I created. So, by the way, my name is Noel. All right. I like to provide my experience. This video is part of my experience of my day. And I got so far 97 subscribers. And I'm looking for subscribers, so please hit the subscribe button at the bottom. All right. See you in the next video.